Hi everyone, I'm Yonjuli. It is the third week of our technical session. Today, I will continuously give you the technical education how to set the policy in the Genial Neck admin console. So today agenda is the top feature that customer must use. Okay, let's start it. So before we start today's session, we will quickly review what we learned from the session 2. So I gathered some keyword from the session 2. After you creating the groups, you can make the two types of the policy in the Genial Neck admin console. So if you wanted to see the group visibility, you first move to the node policy and then create a policy up there. And after that, if you finally decided allowing, denying, or redirect for the remediation to group, you should move to the enforcement policy. Okay, today we will finally practice the actual user case in the admin console. So based on the last session 1 and 2, I will show you how to set a policy, especially in the menu of the node policy, and enforcement policy. Plus today, uh, I set this webinar of the video off because there are several pages appear and disappear on the screen. So to make your more concentrations, I set this webinar of the turning off the video. Okay, let's start to how to set a policy on each user cases. So please take a look at the slide. There is a pattern all of the slides from here. So do you remember? So on the last session 1, I have mentioned that how important of the creating the smart policy. So to make your smart policy, you first set a general goal, which you wanted to achieve by Genial Neck. And the next step, you should make this general goal into the requirement. And the next step, the requirement should be translated into the policy. So I have set all of this slide with the requirement and its policy. So we are going to first check the requirement and its policy in the slide, and then we move to the UI and apply what we learned from here. Okay, let's take a look at the first of the user case number 1. There is a lot of word vocabulary in the one slide, right? But please take a look at and focus the pink letter. So let's start to see the requirement in the use case the first. So first use case requirement is the how to authenticate employee in the office. So IT manager wanting to the regular employee who especially marketing team one make them the authentication. So the first requirement is that they should get their own ID and password for authentication. And second requirement, they are required to install the Genial Neck agent. So with this requirement information, we move to the policy part. So as you know, in the policy, there are 3 sub-menu, right? The first one is node menu, second is node policy, and third one is enforcement policy. So let's check the first one of node. In the requirement information, the node means the group. The groups can be a marketing team 1. So as you know, in the node menu, there are 2 types of the group you can create it, right? So normally marketing team, this group can be recognized by its own IP and especially the subnet range. So you should create the group as the title of the policy group, which are fixed information. So after you creating the group in the node policy, you should move to the after you creating the group in the node menu, you should move to the node policy to set of the authentication and the Genial Neck agent policy. And third one, enforcement policy. So as you know, in the requirement, there is no comment about that we should block or we should allowing or we should redirect. There is no comment about that, so we can skip this policy about that. Okay, I'm going to show you how to create this policy in the UI of the Genion admin console. Can you see the screen of this one? This is the login page of the admin console with Genion Next. So after you successfully deploy the Genion Next, you enable to access to the admin console. So please fill out your ID and password and click login menu. So by default, the dashboard pages appear, but today we are only focused policy menu. So I'm going to click this button and I'm going to make the menu, make it short to make you look more easier. Okay, the first use case we first have to do is that making the group. So please click the group and click node, and then the creating group pages appear. So as you can see, this group is already made by the Genion by default, but we are going to make our own group. So we should click the text box. So now we are going to make the policy group. So you should select this one, created for node policy. And then the page appear. The first step, we should fill out the ID. It means that the title of this group. So I'm gonna make this group name like this one. So I'm going to put this name section 3 underbar regular underbar marketing. So I want to put the name of it, the regular employee who is specially working in the marketing team 1. And second, you should double check you are creating the group for the policy group. And third one, you should select the status of this group as the enable. So after you creating this group is automatically is working. And next step is time to make the condition for defining this group. So please click the add button. And I'm going to make the 2 conditions for this group. So first one, I wanted to recognize this marketing team by its own IP. So I select I select one of the objects, especially the IP, and operator, I'm going to select subnet. And then the value data, I'm going to put by myself, 96 to 168 and 10 to 1. And then I select the 24. Before I click the edit button, so please make sure that the object in the criteria and the data value, value data in the box is just one of the example. So please do not too much focus what I am putting in now here, because after you understand the flow, I mean the logic, how to creating the group and policy, the next step you can put the items or value data. You can put what you should fill inside it. Can be very various what environment you are now. So by the way, I'm going to click end button. So can you see that? So there is one criteria has been added. And I'm going to add one more. So please click add again. And I wanted to define this group as the node type, especially this node type should be PC, window-based of this PC. And then I click the end button. So there are 2 conditions is the add-on. And then you should you should click save. And now you can see here your policy group has been made. So the P icon as the policy group and your group name is the session 3 underbar regular underbar marketing 1. So devices, one of the devices among this subnet range and the device type is a PC, the result is classified into this group. Okay, we finished created the group. And the next step, we should give the policy in this group. So we move to the policy part, especially node policy, and we create the new policy here. Click the text and please select the create. So you should select the create policy for your new policy. Please don't forget that we are creating policy for the group to make them authentication and install the GeniusNet agent. So we are now making that, and then click the next. So I also need to fill out the ID. So I'm going to make the name like this. Session 3 underbar compliance marketing 1. So I want to check the marketing teams if they are following the compliance. So click the next. So it is time to select the group. So as you know, node policy only allowed the group of the policy group. That's the reason there is only policy group is appear here. And I'm going to select this one, which has been already just made it in the node menu. And put them here. Click the next. So this section is the policy preference. Do you remember the last session 2? In the policy preference in the node policy, the function is the 3 function. First one is authentication policy. Second is the agent policy. And third one is management policy. So to make your device's authentication by its own ID and password, you should select this one, password authentication. So after you set this one, devices in this group, and once GeniusNet detected these devices, and this devices has not ID and password for authentication, this GeniusNet make these devices redirect to the page to getting their ID and password. And then requirely, so you should select these choices. And also, I wanted to select this one as well, auto log out as the on. And I set the time 24 hours, which means that between the devices and GeniusNet has not communicated over the 24 hours, the devices automatically unauthorized status. Okay. Let's move to the agent policy. The agent policy is agent means here is the GeniusNet agent. So if you wanted to require devices install the GeniusNet agent, you should select this as the on. So any devices in this group detected by GeniusNet and it has been found that there is no agent of the GeniusNet, GeniusNet make these devices redirect to the page installing the GeniusNet agent. Okay, and I also wanted to save agent fail-safe choices as the also on, and I'm going to select the time 1 hour. So which means that between the agent on the devices and the GeniusNet, if they have not communicated over an hour, GeniusNet make these devices and make this agent maintain this agent with the status of the very latest version of the setting. So I select this as the on, and I'm going to click the next button. The next button, it is about agent action, but in the first user cases, there is no mention about we should have to collecting of the information from the devices, right? So we don't have to select over here, just skip it and finish. So as you can see on the screen, there is one policy is created in the node policy. So this is the how you created the first use cases. Okay, let's move to the second use cases. Please check the pink box in pink letter in the requirement. So IT manager correct the visibility of the MKT, especially the first requirement. IT manager wanted to correct the information if the devices updated the latest version of the OS, and if devices has been already set up with the password. So let's move to the policy part. What we should in the policy. First one is node menu. We have already created the policy group for marketing, so we don't have to do it. And second, node policy. So we should add agent actions. Agent action, the function is correcting and gathering the information from the devices. So the second use case requirement, IT manager wanted to information if the OS is the latest one and password setting. So we move to the agent action and then add on two agent action into the policy. So let's move to the how to create this policy. So you have already made this policy, right, for the regular marketing team one. So just click the ID and then scroll down the end of into the end, and then can you see that there is the section of the agent action? Okay, let's do that. I'm going to show you how to add on the agent action in this policy. So I'm going to select assign box. So there are the small boxes that pop up, and you can see that there is a several object in the list. It means that you can select one of them, put here, and after that, Genius next select the information that you choose it here. So the mission is that we should find the OS information and the password setting information, right? So I'm going to put the keyword here, OS. Can you see the three objects appear in the list? But let's say that the marketing team PC is all of the based on the window basis. So you should distinguish, you should recognize that Windows-based it and iOS-based it. So I'm going to choose this one. Correct the computer OS information for Windows and put them here and click the add. And you see that one agent action is added, especially OS information. And the second one, password, right? I'm going to put the keyword password. So can you see that the check password validation, there is only window version is up here. So I put them here and click the add. So can you see that two agent action is add on the group for regular under the marketing team one, and you should click update it. So now you can see the modified the policy. So the marketing team is now under the policy of the authentication by ID and password, and also should install the Genius agent. Plus, Genius is going to correct information if the password has been set and OS version is the latest version. So this is the how to create the policy for the second use cases. Okay, let's move to the third use cases. So third use cases requirement is that IT manager wanted to remediate some devices in marketing teams. So especially if the devices OS is out of date, IT manager want to make them into the latest one version. And if devices has not set the password, wanted to make them into the password setting. So previous use case number 1 and number 2 is about the creating the group and correcting the visibility, collecting the information from the devices, right? So after you get the information, you finally wanted to control something. Control means like allowing, denying, or remediating. So in this case, you should have to create the group the first. So let's move to the policy part. So in the node menu, you should create one group, especially status group. As you know, status group means about the uh, devices or groups condition, right? So we should create it one status group, which means about the devices which has not compliant with the company regulation. So after you creating the status group, and then you jump up to the enforcement policy and decided this group is denying or allowing or redirect. But in the use case, third use cases say that if some devices has not compliant with the company regulation, IT manager wanted to make them in the redirect for remediation. It means that permission of the CWP in the Genius network. Okay, let's move to the UI. I'm going to show you how to set this policy of that. So we should first create the status group. So click the group and click the node. And then click the text box. And now you are making the status group. So you should click the create. And then first step, you should fill out the ID here, right? So I'm going to make this name is the like that. Session 3, non-compliant or non-security setting in marketing team 1. I want to make the name like that. And double check you are creating the group for the status group. And also you should do status as the enable or active this group. And the next step, you should make the condition for defining this group. So in this group, the function about the finding the devices or the group which has not following the company compliance, for example, the OS version still is the out of date, password has not set yet. So I click the end button, and in this time I'm going to select agent action. And I'm going to select operator was not performed by, which means that this group is the target for which who has not performed the agent action. So if you click the value button, there is a lot of agent action is here. So we should select some of them. So do you remember we have already added on the agent action on the node policy, right? It was the check password validation. So click the add, which means that a devices in the marketing team 1 has not set the password, and the devices is classified into this group. And second one, I'm going to select OS, not latest OS version. So correct the company OS information, and then click add. So two agent action is add on. This is the condition defining this group. So I click the save. So can you see that there? I think we should find that where it is the status group we just made it. Yeah, here. Can you see that? So This group means that a devices which has not password setting, which is still out of date of the OS, the result classified it into this group. So we have finished to create a status group here. So let's move to the enforcement part. So after you creating this group, it is time to deciding allowing, deny, or redirect. So we move to the policy part and enforcement policy. We should click the enforcement policy and click the text and select the create. So you also select the create policy for your new policy and click the next. So I'm going to make this policy name as the Section 3 under control security setting, the marketing one, and click the next. It is time to select the groups. As you know, the enforcement policy, you can select both the policy group and status group or either one of them. But we have already made it the group status group just before, right? So I'm going to looking for that here. Section 3 under non-security setting in the marketing team is targeting for the policy. So select the next. So it is very important. So and the permission part, you should select which permission you want to enforce them. So I want to make them permission CWP because I wanted to make them set again of the password and also set again of the latest version of the OS. So click the next. So it is time to setting the CWP captive web portal because the once a devices which has not set the password and out of the date of the OS, GeniusNet make these devices redirect the CWP page, right? So you can choose that using the CW page by the GeniusNet, or you can select your own customizing URL. But today I'm going to using this one by default, the CWP page by GeniusNet. Plus, I wanted to also leave this comment here like this. Please follow the below step to access the corporate network, and then click the next, then finish. So let's look at the screen. There is the one policy is the created on the list. So a devices, especially the group of the marketing one, which has not follow of the password setting, still using the out of the OS, and then once they are detected by GeniusNet make them redirect to the page of CWP for the remediation. So this is the how you create the policy for use case 3. Okay, let's move to the use case 4. I think before starting to the use case 4, I think you are a little confused and complex than what I'm doing now, right? But no worry about it because it takes a little bit time to get used to setting a policy. And also we have a very different background, right? Some have a very high experience of networks, some technical guy, high background of the endpoint. So now we are very, very various the background here and people. So I don't want to push you. You should have to do it now. You should have to do and more and more. No, I don't want to say that. Just feel free to watching it because after the finishing the webinar, I'm going to share the video via newsletter and also in the YouTube channel and the Genius that there's uploaded. So, and today use cases, just the minor of the user cases, because as you can see on the UI, there is a lot of object in the select, right? So once you select whichever you select item in the criteria or some choices, the value data or the things you have to do can be very, very various. So do not too much pressure today's session. I just wanted to you just feel free watching it and try to understand the flow and the logic. So after fully and understand after you're watching in this video, and then you finally make some any sense for genuine policy setting. So today, just feel free to watching it what I'm doing here. Okay. Okay. Let's do the use case number 4. Use case number 4 is about the correcting the visibility. So IT manager wanting to see the inside of the marketing one, especially if they are installed antivirus. So let's move to the policy part. So we don't have to make the creating the new group for node policy because we have already made it, the policy group of marketing one, but we should add one agent action more, especially checking the antivirus installation. So I'm going to show you how to do it. So make it short. So please click the node policy. And as you know, we have already one policy created here, right? So this group of the marketing is under the password setting and the latest version of OS. So here I'm going to add one more agent action. So please click the ID and scroll into the end. There is agent action, right? So click the assign. You can put the keyword like the antivirus, okay, here. So you can select on one of them, but what about this way? So let's say that you are IT manager, you wanted to collecting the information, especially specific brand of the Kaspersky app antivirus installation is in your endpoint, in your the regular employee devices. So in this case, you should create your own agent action. So I'm going to show you how to make your own creating agent action because we are using very various version of the application and software, right? So I think you have much more chance to create an agent action once you set the policy. Okay, click the cancel. Please move to the agent action. This agent action have been already made by the Genius NEC. It is just the user cases. You can use them also, but you can also create your own agent action. So please click the text, select this created. So, and I'm going to make the name. This agent action name is like this one. Session 3 underbar detection Kaspersky antivirus AV installation. So this agent action function is that if the device is installed and has a file of the Kaspersky antivirus installation file. So name is like that, and you move to the agent action part. Today I select only window. So this agent action is learning only window-based it, and then click the end. I select program file because I wanted to check if this program file is existing in the groups in the marketing team 1. So operator is equal to the value I select program file, and I put the information put the information by myself like this one. So this agent installation file is existed in the program file, existed in the devices in the marketing team group. So click the end. So please make sure this is just one of the example. The value data can be very, very various what environment you are. Just to refer to it. And after that, scroll down And you can select which version of OS will be running on it. So I select all of them. So these agent actions will be running this version of the window. And then click the create it. So please click scroll down. Can you see that? There is the one agent action has been created. You hadn't made it. So let's move to the next one. So we have already made it agent action, and then we should move to the policy, click the ID and scroll down. And now we should add on the agent action we have just made it for collecting the information, the devices. So scroll down. Can you see that? There is the agent action here. You just made it here. And then put them, click the add. So add on the Kaspersky antivirus installation agent action is add on here, right? And then click the updated. So let's look at the policies. The policy is modified. So now this group is the policy, is the under the authentication with the ID and password, and should install the GeniaNet agent plus GeniaNet correcting the information to these devices, especially password has been setting, Windows OS, the latest one, and Kaspersky antivirus, the software installation file is in there. So this is how you created the session use case 4. And then let's move to the slide back. So next use case 5. So after you correcting the information from the devices in the marketing 2, the IT manager wanted to remediate if one devices in the marketing team has not installed AV, the IT manager wanted to make them redirect to the page for installation antivirus. So let's start how to create this policy. So, and for this policy, you also created status group again. And the status groups, the function non-antivirus installation in marketing 1. So it means that devices, including the marketing 1, which has not installed the antivirus. So if some result is classified into this group, after that, we jump to the enforcement policy and setting the policy as the permission CWP. It means the redirect for them. Okay, let's move to the how to make it. Okay, we first move to the group and click the node. Okay, and click the text box. So now we are creating the status group, which are grouped conditions, right? So please click the create. And then please fill out this title, this group's name. And I'm going to name it like that. Session 3, non-antivirus AV installation in marketing team 1. So I wanted to find the devices which has not installed antivirus. So please double check you are creating the status group now. And status should be enabled. And let's start to make the condition for this group, defining this group. So please click the end button. So the purpose to making this group is to looking for searching a group which has not antivirus, right? So we have already made the agent action for detection. So click the agent action and was not performed yet, especially antivirus installation. So this one we have created just before, right? So click the end button. So there is one agent action is add-on. So any devices in the marketing team 1 has not installed Kaspersky AV antivirus yet. So the result is classified into this group. So click the save. This is the policy group, right? So the policy group that we just haven't made it here. Can you see that? So this is we have just made it. Yeah, we haven't made the status group, and next step is time to decide it, allowing, denying, redirect. But IT manager wanted to redirect them to install antivirus again. So we should move it to the policy, make them in short, and then policy, especially enforcement policy. And click the text and select create. And you should select the create policy for your new policy and click the next. And we should fill out the name on it. I'm going to name like this. Session 3 underbar Control AV uninstallation in marketing team 1 and click the next. So it's time to select the group. So in enforcement policy, you can select the two types of the group, policy group, status group, or either one of them. But we have already made it one status group before, right? So I'm going to select them, this one. Put them here. So this is the target for the enforcement. Next step, you should select among them. I select the CWP because I just want IT manager want make them to redirect to install again of the antivirus software. And then next, and then CWP page, I'm going to use the GeniusNet. Then click the next, and then finish. So as you can see on the screen, one policy is created. So which means that the group of the non-antivirus installation marketing has been detected by GeniusNet. The GeniusNet make this group, the devices, redirect to the page for install the antivirus. So this is how you created the use case number 5. Okay. This is the last of the use case 6. This is very so simple. So because the last session 2, the end of the session 2, one of the partner asked me how to managing the guest. Because I think it's also a big problem how to manage the guest in your corporate network. So recently there are many cases the awkward working together, your third regular employee and your guest, right? So to make your corporate network secure is definitely needed to managing your guest people. So how to managing the guest in the HQ? It means that IT manager make the group of the guest. So first requirement, guest group are located with a certain IP, and IT manager wanted to only them and guest are loaded only to internet only. So I'm going to show you how to make the policy to working them. Okay, let's move it to the UI. We first created the group for the guest. So click the node and click the text box, and normally the guests are recognized by its own IP subnet, right? So you should create the group of the policy group. So I'm going to make the name. So double check you are creating group for policy group and status as the enable. And I'm going to recognize and I'm going to condition this group as the IP. So IP here, they has their own subnet. So put the value data by yourself. So what about this one using? Okay, and then 24. Select, click the end. So any devices among this subnet range that this device is defined as the guest. So you can see the policy, sorry, uh, policy group here, right? And this is the step of the creating the group for the guest. And next step, you should enforce them. So I'm going to move to the policy and enforcement policy. Please click the text, create it, and create a policy for new. Next. And then we should make this policy name. I'm going to put name as the section 3 control the guest. So click the next. And I will select the group. I'm going to select this one. Section 3 underbar guest, which has been, we have made it before. And then next. So this group devices only are loaded to internet. Okay. Next. So also I'm going to use the CWP page. Click the next. The finished. So as you can see on the screen, there is the control policy created up here. So today, I just only show that how to create the policy. So you are wondering, so after that, how is working, right? But I'm really sorry about that. I have not connect the Genial Neck with the devices because if I connect the Genial Neck and devices spontaneously, so every time I create a policy, the policy will apply to the devices. Sometimes it can be blocked, sometimes it redirect to the some pages, so it cannot. So I cannot show. Maybe I could not show whole of the process. So unfortunately, I could not prepare like this. But original scenario, if you select, if you created the policy, and also if your Genial Net successfully connected the devices, I mean the detection, so Genial Net show you the number, how many nodes are matching with it, like this one. So this is the policy, right? After you creating the policy, Genial Net start to detect and showing you the number of the how many numbers nodes are matching with the policy. And so if you click this number, just one of the example, click this number, you can see that which devices are detected and matched with it. And also you can click the IP, you can see a lot of the informations about that. But today I could not prepare like this scenario. I'm really sorry about that, but please more focus to what we learn, especially how to set the policy and what object that I select, what value data put inside in the box. Please more focus about just the flow. So after you practice about this, the flow and logic, and try to practice by yourself, maybe you are facing a little bit hard thing and difficult problem. Definitely you are facing that. So in this case, please contact to our engineer team via Slack or email, or the real-time live chat. We can help you how to cover up. So uh, this is the end of today's the user cases that I prepared today. So I really appreciate you spend a lot of time. It takes about 15 minutes. I'm sorry, it takes about a long time. So I really appreciate you joining the session 3, and also you enjoyed session 3 today. So thank you so much your precious time with us. So and the next week, this is the third week of the technical session. I will give you more informative information to you. Thank you so much today. Hope to see you next week.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining this tech webinar session 3. We have a real-time Q&A session as of now. We have 2 questions from Nivisha from Procentric. So let's take a look at the first question. First question is what to do if there are nodes that unsuccessfully applied the policy. How to check? is it possible you can give us more detailed scenario? I will wait for your additional explanation about question 1. Let's take a look at question 2. What is the mechanism used to update the OS, or it just checked OS? So checking the OS, the updates patch is we are checking the latest version of the Windows OS from the website, and then comparing the latest the version of the OS patch of each devices, and check mapping with this the version is outdated of the latest the version. Then, and based on that condition, whether we force them to update or quarantine and redirect, that's how it works. Is there any other question? So please leave the question here. We will give you the feedback in real time. If I cannot answer right away, then after this session, I'm going to check internally and provide more detailed feedback with the document or any other the measure. So last time we have a 3 question, although we couldn't really properly understand about the question 3. So if anyone who left this question, please give us more detailed scenario, then we can provide more detailed feedback. Let's take a look at question number 1. So question number 1 was, what if the police server is down and the network sensor is up? Is there still an enforcement policy of that will happen to the endpoint devices? So simply the condition was police server is down and network server is up. So the answer is endpoint devices can be managed by the policy. Depends on how you set the network sensor setting. There's the name of the function called it fail-safe function. So if you turn it on, then whenever there's a problem with the communication between the police server and the network sensor, the last policy the network sensor has will be applied to the endpoint devices. If you do the opposite, it doesn't block anything. So you can still use your service, network services, without bothering the policy. And once the failure is fixed, whether it is problem of the hardware or the software, or is a network problem, the network sensor communicate with the police server again, and then it will inherit the latest policy from the police server, and it normally working again. That was the first question. And second question is also related with the first question. So the question is, what if network sensor is down? Can the agent still communicate with the police server? So the condition is the opposite from the question 1. The police server is up, but the network sensor is down, and every device has an agent. So yes, the answer is agents still communicate with the police server. Of course, it must have the agent device has. So it be able to monitor the status of the devices. However, if you still remember that what you got from this session, we have the endpoint device information from the agent. And we also use that information for using the status, right? Checking the status of the devices. But since the network sensor is down, so there is no really control of the devices at all, but only monitoring and gathering the information. Okay, that is the answer of the question 2. And let me go back to the real-time question again. Okay, I guess there's no more question from today. I know this is quite difficult to understand. Someone probably get panicked once you lost in the middle of the session, that it's difficult to follow the rest of others, but it is totally okay and normal. That is why we are going to provide the detailed documentation and also the AV file. You can keep watching and learn and relying on us. So we are really happy to support you anytime you leave any question. So I guess this is end of this session. So thanks for your time for today. So we really wish to meet you the rest of the session, the next, which is the last session, and which will be the next Wednesday. So thank you. Bye.